Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 11 of Just Jenni Lee. I have really struggled this week with recording any content, with making any art. I've just had a really bad week. My birthday was incredibly disappointing, and I've struggled. I'm just being honest. It wouldn't be so bad if I was not misled into thinking one thing and then other things transpired. Perhaps I should just have zero expectations in life. I'm sure that's the best heart posture to have. And unfortunately, that's just tough. That's tough. It's easy to have zero expectations of the cashier down the road, or even zero expectations of, your siblings or, a friend at work or whatever. But when the person giving you the expectations hits a little closer to home, it can be really challenging to live with. And it's got me thinking all week this week about what are intentions really? And why do we promote them so much? There's been an old saying that I've heard since I was a kid, which is the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And yet, it's very easy to get wrapped up in, well, I intended to do this and I intended to do that. And I'm not saying there's not legitimacy to a person's intent. I have good intentions. I have a huge Himalayan mountainscape of good intentions. But in reality, they're not a very good litmus for where I'm at in life. Because the only thing I can really do is not try to convince people of my good intentions on a daily basis, but just give them some actual evidence of intentional output. And the reality is I think the only way that you can actually really fight good intentions is to not let them be the determinant of your success. I've noticed in my life that when I'm having to rely on my good intentions as a justification for something, as an excuse for something, that in reality, I'm just hiding my own inadequacy and my own human frailty. And I'll give you a good example. About a year and a half ago, almost going on 2 years, but a year and a half ago or so, I was brought in to the prayer room teams on our church, which is like a peripheral sort of like music ministry. And the prayer rooms are held twice a week, generally speaking, for 1 hour each day. But not only twice a week. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, they're 1 hour. And I was put on a team that meets every other Thursday. And at that time, I'll tell you, I had played the piano like 20 years ago. And I had like 20 songs memorized from sheet music that I couldn't change the key to because the sheet music was what it was. And I could just read the notes and try to like memorize how to play that when I was looking at the sheet music. I could not sing while I played at all. That was never a thing. And I could barely get through a song a couple of times. And if you go to church, a lot of times, depending upon the type of church you go to, you might actually cycle through a song more than once. You might just not do it start to finish and then quit. So like a lot of times in certain types of churches, the worship music is, put on repeat a couple minutes and then you might move on to the next song or whatever. So I had a really hard time with that and I would struggle. And there were times when I would just be like, I can't play. And my playing would stop. And then the people in the church would like just keep singing until I could, like a cappella, until I could actually find the place and start over again. And that could take several seconds, or when, waiting till they got back to the beginning of the song when I knew I could pick it up. It's very, very hard to find your place on sheet music when you get messed up, in my opinion. Anyways, it was for me, and I wasn't very good. I had like 20 songs, and I had worked very hard. That was years of effort to be able to play those songs, and I could not sing with them. That was about 20 years ago. Fast forward to this last year and a half, where they heard that I had played the keys in the past, but I hadn't played in 10 years, so I couldn't even play the songs that I used to be able to play. I didn't even have those 20 songs at my disposal. And they shoved the chord sheets at me from the guitar people and the Nashville number system at me, and they're like, you can do this. And I was like, no, I can't. I went to the first practice, and it was an abysmal failure. I couldn't even understand what I was looking at. None of it made sense to me. Again, I wasn't that great of a pianist before. Like, I could barely play anything. I could play some songs, and they were mostly just a few church songs. And so I thought, they're crazy. I had actually picked up the guitar, and I wasn't great at that either, but I could play it a little bit more proficiently in certain keys than I could the piano, and I could at least play a couple different keys if I needed to. And so I thought they would put me on the prayer room on the guitar. But in reality, they decided to put me on the keys. So the first practice was a nightmare. I didn't even make it through one song. And then I got a text message from the team lead that said, hey, we're going to put, and I thought they were going to put me back on the guitar after that practice. Because they did. When I didn't make it through that song, they were like, all right, you pick up the guitar again. We'll put, so-and-so back on the keys, and we'll go back to that. And then I got the text saying that I was going to be on the keys. And I was like, are you out of your mind? What are you talking about? This is crazy. And I'm surprised I didn't say, like, I can't do this. I'm not doing it. I literally couldn't do it. So we had one more practice, and I don't know how, but I learned a few basic chords in like the key of C or something, and I worked my butt off at just trying to keep tempo with them, and it was terrible, and I was fumbling, and all the people that I was playing with almost chuckle now to think. Fast forward to me now in the last year and a half. I feel like I've sort of been gifted, I'm not super gifted on the piano, please don't think that. I've been gifted with the ability to be a decent accompaniment in any key and sing any song. It's actually astounding. Something I worked at for 10 years to do for 20 songs, which I couldn't do, and then gave up for 10 years and didn't even sit down at a piano. And all of a sudden, within a few months, I just acclimated to it so naturally. Well, before I naturally acclimated to it, there was some trials. There were some challenging times because as I started to get a few keys under my belt, a few chords under my belt, a few songs under my belt, I got very precious about those songs and that process. I got very precious about, this is what I can bring. This is what I know. You have to work with me. So all of these other musicians that have been singing and playing for years and years are like trying really hard to go down to my level to meet me where I'm at. And that was really kind of them, but at times it was almost like controlling. They were like, well, I don't know if I can do this if you get to control all of the songs all of the time and what we're doing. And I was like, but I'm just trying to give you my best. If you expect me to do really hard stuff, I'm going to fail. It's going to sound bad. I'm not going to do well. I'm going to feel bad. And so I faced miserable anxiety those first few months. This was my first time playing was in July of 2024. And so I really struggled. I was rough all throughout that later summer into the fall. I was just, every day was a panic attack of dealing with that I was expected to play the keys. And yeah, I didn't want to step down from it. I don't know why, but I wanted to rise to the occasion. I wanted to rise to the challenge. And so I was offered the ability, or the opportunity, I guess, to play the keys with my prayer room team, and the worship leader, actually, who's not on our team, during this event called Albany Worships, and it's a 24-hour like prayer and music cycle, basically, that is live streamed from Facebook once a month from different churches all throughout the region. And I'd been playing in the prayer room for a couple months, and I could kind of get through a few things, and I was a little bit better. I was starting to understand what I was doing. And so I was asked, would I be willing to take one of the slots? And I said, oh gosh, I don't know. I don't want to be on a live stream, all this sort of thing. And they're like, I didn't know it was live stream at the time, by the way. I'm saying it's live stream now because I know it now, but I didn't know it then. They just said, do you want to participate? It's not live stream. It's going to be off in the peripheral area in the Life Kids. You won't have to be on spectacle. You'll be fine. So I'm like, okay, I'm just trying to like go with the flow, and come to find out, the whole thing was live streamed, and we weren't in the Life Kids area where the prayer rooms are. We were in the sanctuary up on the stage, which I had never been on. I had never even played those keys. Interesting thing about a pianist or a keyboardist is when you're a guitarist or bass player, or you know, even if you play a little hand drum like a bongo, you can bring your instrument with you wherever you go. But when you play the keys, you have to sit down at whatever instrument is in front of you. You generally are not bringing a keyboard along, you know, wherever you go. So I had never even sat at this keyboard before, and it was terrifying and it was rough. It was not the prettiest set that was ever played. I was stressed out. I was sweating. I felt terrible. But after that event, I went to the next Albany Worships event with my friend Tabitha. And I got there and I hadn't slept at all. And we took an early morning, 5 o'clock in the morning set. And I got there and I'd gotten very dependent on my iPad. My iPad was what had all my music. It was what made it easy for me to change keys. Was just sort of my safety net. And I got to this place 45 minutes away from my house in like pretty heavy flurries, and realized when I was about to be on in 5 minutes, I did not have my iPad with me. It was at home. I didn't have it. And I was very, very new still. This was only in November of the same year when I'd been playing for 4 months, maybe 4 or 5 months. And so Tabitha looks at me and she goes, "We'll be fine. We'll be fine." And somehow we were. I played chord progressions. I opened my phone and I found a song or two online and I just used my phone. It was rough, but it was freeing. I need to back up, actually. I need to back up for a second and I need to say, so what I would bring to the team was I would feel really sorry for myself because they would tell me that I was experiencing self-pity. And I didn't believe that. I believed I was just trying to bring my best. And I was. But I would like have panic attacks and I would have meltdowns and I was just trying so hard. And they were all just trying to get me to chill out and relax. And I just kept saying, "But I feel inadequate." And they said, "This is pride." And I'm like, what are you talking about? You people are crazy. By the time I got through all of these events and the new year hit, I started to realize that they weren't wrong. That me being obsessed about what a failure I was and how inadequate I was and what my intentions were, albeit amazing and very good, just weren't relevant. If anything, they were a distraction. My intentions to be this or to be enough or to whatever were a distraction. They just asked me to come and accompany the set to the best of my ability. And if I literally felt like I couldn't play, then to stop playing and let the set go on. And to let the other people carry the set. And yeah, sometimes it would just be me and Tabitha, and other times it might be me and Tabitha and our husbands on the drums. But it was usually hard if I stopped playing. It was obvious. There wasn't a guitarist in the background some of the time. Sometimes we did have that. Sometimes we didn't. We invited other people in to come play with us, and that built my confidence after playing with some guitarists for a few months. But then they kind of had to go their separate ways, and I didn't have access to them anymore. And so I was basically trying what I felt like to carry the team myself. And the worship leader was very wise and said, "It's not your job to carry the team. It's not your job to do any of that. It's not your job. Just be what you can and be what God leads and be there. Just be there." And I realized something really important. I had to lay down my good intentions of trying to be sufficient, of trying to be adequate, of trying to be appropriate, and just let them go and just be. And accept that wrapping myself up in myself is a distraction to the greater good. It was a distraction to any of the other team members I had, and I have a whole bunch of different ones. We rotate out and we do different things. And then that bringing that energy into the space is just like making it all awkward and uncomfortable for them. And it makes them need to accommodate my inadequacy instead of me rising up to accommodate their proficiency. And so those first 6 months were pretty ugly. I felt very wrapped up in, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, to this last year or so starting to realize I'm having fun. These are wonderful people. It's a great time. We all leave blessed and energized. And in reality, if I hadn't let go of my good intentions and my self-pity, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Now I'm composing music and helping my friend Tabitha arrange her songs that she's written. So, you know, I could continue to be wrapped up forever in my sorrow of how much of a loser I am, or I could just show up, do my actual best, and keep improving over time and not be a loser. And now people look back at me and they're like, wow, look at where you've come. Wow, look at how much you've grown. And I don't feel like that. I feel like I have a lot of room to go. I have a lot to learn. I have a lot more in me that is still untapped and undiscovered. And that's really exciting for me. So I don't need to sit here feeling inadequate. I don't need to sit here feeling sorry for myself, because in reality, that just highlights how much more I have at my disposal to learn. That just highlights how many more experiences I have yet to have. It just highlights that I don't know what I'm capable of. And this year, as I head into my 50th year here, what I really want to do is I want to focus on what I can do and not what I can't do. And I don't want to focus on what my good intentions are. I want my intentions to be sort of secondary to my actual output. I intend to get in the studio, but I'm so depressed I can't. I intend to practice the piano, but I can't. I intend to go out and take a walk. That's what my intentions are, but I don't. And I have a really good reason why, whatever. I don't want to have really good reasons anymore. I just want to pick myself up and move forward and not keep using the excuses of having reasons as to why I'm not doing things. So yeah, this year is going to be letting go of what I think is my heart posture and just embracing the fruit of effort, which makes my heart posture actually align. And that's where I'm headed into this year. So if you made it this far, I really appreciate you, and I thank you for sticking it out. If you like this content, I'd love for you to like and subscribe and join my creative journey. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, rest of your week, month, and year. And I will catch you in the next video.